Hello, my friend. It is so good to have you here with me today. Imagine a small town on the western edge of Norway. The wind from the North Sea is cold and salty. The houses are painted red and white. Cows walk slowly in the green fields. On a small football pitch, a 5-year-old boy is chasing a ball. He is tall for his age, blonde hair, always moving. His father watches from the sideline. He is only 32 years old, but his knee hurts when the weather turns cold. The father used to play football. His football dream ended too soon. One day, that little boy would carry his father's dream farther than he ever could. Stay with me until the end, because this is more than the story of a great footballer. It is the story of a father whose dream lived on through his son.
This is the story of Erling Haaland.
Erling Haaland was born on the 21st of July, 2000, in Leeds, England. His father was Alfie Haaland, a Norwegian midfielder who played for Leeds United, one of England's strongest clubs at the time. His mother was Gry Marita Braut. She had been Norway's national champion in the heptathlon. 1 athlete, 7 different events. 2 athletes, 1 home. A boy who already carried something in his blood. His first cry was in England, but his blood was Norwegian. Just weeks before Erling was born, Alfie had signed for Manchester City. Soon after, the family moved from Leeds to Manchester. Alfie was 27 years old, a strong defensive midfielder, and the fans loved him. Then his career ended, quickly, quietly. He thought that was the end of the story. Alfie went home to Bryne, the small town where he had grown up. He was tired. His body was tired. In that quiet town, he began a new life. He opened a small business building houses. He raised his family. On weekends, he took his young son to the football fields of Bryne. Bryne is a small place. Only 12,000 people live here. If you drove through it on a quiet afternoon, you might miss it. But for the boy, it was the whole world. At 5 years old, Erling joined the youth academy of Bryne FK, the local club where his father had once played. The same grass, the same wooden clubhouse. His father had once been the boy on this pitch. Now, it was Erling's turn. His coach was a man named Alf Ingve Berntsen. He had coached many children over the years, but this boy caught his attention almost immediately. This boy was not afraid. He did not care who was watching. He did not care who he was playing against. He simply wanted to score. That same year, in 2006, he made an incredible standing long jump. 1 meter and 63 centimeters. Many believe it was a world record for his age. His legs were already built for power. The young Haaland played other sports too. He played handball. He played golf. He even trained on the running track, following the path his mother had once walked. But football was the sport that made him forget to eat. It was the game he wanted to play in the dark, after dinner, until his mother called him in. His father drove him to training. He stood on the sidelines, but he never pushed too hard. He did not need to. The boy pushed himself. When Erling was 17 years old, a Norwegian journalist asked him about his dream. His answer was simple. He said he wanted to win the Premier League with Leeds United, the club his father had played for. He said he wanted more caps for Norway than Alfie had ever earned. He was 17. He already believed it. Norwegian football is small. Small stadiums, small crowds, the kind of football that rarely reaches the rest of the world. In 2015 and 2016, when Haaland was still only 15, he played for Bryne 2, the club's reserve team. In just 14 matches, he scored 18 goals. 18 goals. 14 matches. Suddenly, people started paying attention. Scouts began to travel to Bryne. They sat in the small wooden stands, cups of coffee warming their hands. They watched a teenager bully defenders who were older, bigger, and stronger than he was. In the summer of 2016, just 3 months before his 16th birthday, Bryne handed Haaland his senior debut. Word spread quickly. Bigger clubs across Norway began to call. Molde FK, one of the country's biggest clubs, moved first. In February 2017, Haaland signed for Molde. His new coach was Ole Gunnar Solskjær. Every Norwegian football fan knew that name. Years earlier, Solskjær had played alongside Alfie Haaland for Norway. He had also scored the winning goal for Manchester United in the 1999 Champions League final. Now he was back home, helping shape the next generation. Can you imagine? His father had shared a pitch with Solskjær. Now his son would share a dressing room with him. In football, some doors open because someone else walked through them first. At Molde, Haaland grew up in every sense of the word. He gained about 15 kilograms. Every kilogram made him stronger, faster, and even harder to stop. Solskjær later said he trained harder than anyone else. In his second season, Haaland started 17 league matches and scored 12 goals. In January 2019, at 18 years old, Haaland signed for Red Bull Salzburg in Austria. Norway had made him. Europe was about to discover him. Before Europe truly knew his name, the world received a warning. In May 2019, Norway traveled to Poland for the FIFA U20 World Cup. On the 30th of May, in the city of Lublin, they faced Honduras. What happened that afternoon does not need much explanation. It only needs numbers. He scored in the 7th minute, then again in the 20th. In the 36th minute, he converted a penalty. 7 minutes later, he scored his 4th. By halftime, Norway led 4-0, and even the Norwegian bench could hardly believe what they were watching. But the second half brought no relief for Honduras. Haaland scored again in the 50th minute, then in the 67th, the 77th, and the 88th. Deep into stoppage time, he scored one more. 9 goals. 9 goals in a single match. Norway won 12-0. No player had ever scored more goals in one U20 World Cup match. No team had ever won by a bigger margin. He was 18 years old. After the match, a reporter walked over to Haaland. He expected smiles. He expected celebration. Instead, Haaland looked slightly annoyed. Then he said something people would remember for years. He said one thing bothered him. He had missed with his final kick of the game. He would have to sit down and think about it. 9 goals, and he could only think about the 10th. That may have been the day the world first understood him. 4 months later, in September 2019, Haaland made his UEFA Champions League debut. Salzburg were at home to Genk. Most young players feel nervous on a night like this. Most young players do not score. In the 2nd minute, the ball came to Haaland inside the box. He turned and shot into the corner. Goal. In the 34th minute, Salzburg broke forward. Haaland raced clean through on goal, alone against the goalkeeper. He stayed calm. He finished into the net. 2-0. Then, in the last minute of the first half, Salzburg countered again. The ball found Haaland inside the box one more time. He struck it into the net. A hat trick. In 45 minutes, on his very first Champions League night. Salzburg won 6-2. No player had ever scored a first-half hat trick on his Champions League debut. Europe had been warned. Now it was watching. In January 2020, Haaland signed for Borussia Dortmund, one of Germany's biggest clubs, a club painted in yellow and black. His first match came against Augsburg. Haaland started on the bench. He came on in the second half. 20 minutes later, he had a hat trick. That became the pattern of his time at Dortmund. 2.5 seasons, goals almost every week, records almost every month. Then came a night Dortmund fans still remember. It was February 2020, the Champions League round of 16. Dortmund at home to Paris Saint-Germain. Haaland was only 19. For 69 minutes, the score stayed at 0-0. Then the ball came to Haaland at the near post. He needed only one touch to push it into the net. 1-0. 6 minutes later, Neymar equalized for Paris. 2 minutes after that, Dortmund attacked again. A short pass found Haaland at the edge of the box. He took one look at the goal. Then he struck the ball. It flew low and hard into the top corner. The French goalkeeper never moved. 2-1. Haaland ran to the corner flag. He sat down on the grass. He crossed his legs. He closed his eyes, like a monk in meditation. The famous yellow wall was roaring around him. 80,000 people. He looked perfectly calm. The image traveled around the world. In 2021, Haaland lifted the German Cup, the first major trophy of his senior career. He kept breaking Champions League records, fastest to 10 goals, fastest to 15, fastest to 20. Everyone knew Dortmund was only a stop along the journey, not the destination. Haaland had become one of the most wanted young players in world football. The biggest clubs lined up: Chelsea, Real Madrid, Manchester United, Bayern Munich. The race to sign him had begun. Yet when the moment finally came, there was only one answer. Every great club wanted Haaland. Only one felt like coming home. Some transfers are about money. This one was about unfinished family history. My friend, in the next chapter, a son will walk into the same club his father once left behind. The same sky blue shirt, the same city. But a very different ending. Before we go any further, we have to go back. Back to the 21st of April, 2001. Old Trafford in Manchester, the home of Manchester United. Alfie Haaland walked onto the pitch that afternoon wearing sky blue. Manchester City had crossed the city to face their oldest rivals. Late in the match, Alfie went into a challenge with Roy Keane. It would become one of English football's most talked about tackles. He got back to his feet. He finished the match. He even played more games afterwards. He played on for Norway too, but his body was already fragile. An old injury in his other knee had been troubling him for months, and the body of a professional footballer cannot hide the truth forever. The next season, Alfie appeared only 4 times, as a substitute. Then, after 2 more years trying to recover, his career was over. He was 30 years old. He went home to Blina. He built houses. He raised his family. Somewhere in that house, a 9-month-old boy was sleeping peacefully, a boy who did not yet know what his father had lost. Now, 21 years later, that same boy was signing his name on a contract. Some signatures change careers. This one completed a circle. In the summer of 2022, Manchester City signed Haaland for around 60 million euros. It was a bargain, and everyone knew it. City moved fast. They gave him the number 9 shirt, the sky blue jersey, the same color his father had worn 21 years earlier, at the same club. Alfie had left Manchester with a dream unfinished. His son came back to finish the story. And what a story it became. His first season was not just good, it was the greatest debut season in the history of English football. 36 goals in the Premier League. Nobody had ever done this before. In all competitions, he scored 52 goals. He won the Premier League Golden Boot. He won the European Golden Shoe. But the Premier League was only one part of the story. Manchester City won the FA Cup that season. Then, in June 2023, they went to Istanbul. The Champions League final. Manchester City against Inter Milan. The match was tight. For almost 70 minutes, neither team could score. Then, in the 68th minute, a Spanish midfielder named Rodri struck the ball into the net. 1-0. Manchester City lifted the Champions League trophy for the first time in their history. Haaland lifted it with them. 3 trophies. The Continental Treble. Only one English club had ever done it before. Manchester United in 1999, coached by Sir Alex Ferguson, with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer among the heroes. Yet there was one dream that still refused to come true. One shirt that had never brought him where he wanted to go. Norway, his country. The country of the North Sea wind. Norway had not played at a FIFA World Cup since 1998. Haaland had not even been born. Alfie had reached the World Cup only once. It was 1994 in the United States. For years, Haaland carried Norway on his shoulders. He scored goals. He broke records. He became Norway's all-time leading scorer while still in his early 20s. But one record refused to change. Norway still could not reach the World Cup. 28 years is a long silence. Haaland wanted to be the one who finally broke it. My friend, one thing before we continue. This story is being told while the 2026 World Cup is still unfolding. By the time you watch this, new chapters may already have been written, but one chapter already belongs to history. Let me tell you about it. On the 5th of July 2026, Norway faced Brazil in the round of 16. Brazil were 5-time world champions. For most people, Norway had no chance against Brazil. But Norway had a secret weapon. Erling Haaland. In the 79th minute, a Norwegian teammate found space on the left. He looked up. He sent the cross into the penalty area. Haaland was surrounded by Brazilian shirts, but as the ball arrived, he rose above them. His forehead met the ball cleanly. It went down, past the goalkeeper, into the net. Norway won, Brazil 0. Haaland turned and ran with his arms wide. Behind him, the Norwegian fans exploded. They screamed, they jumped, they cried. Brazil pushed forward, desperate for a goal. That left space behind them. In the 90th minute, the same teammate found Haaland again, this time outside the penalty area. Haaland took one touch. He opened his body. He struck the ball low and hard. It slipped between a defender's legs. It flew past the diving goalkeeper into the far corner. Norway 2, Brazil 0. The 5-time world champions were almost going home. In the final minutes, Neymar scored from the penalty spot, but almost no time remained. Seconds later, the final whistle came. Norway had beaten Brazil. Then, my friend, Norway celebrated in a way only Norway could. Thousands of Norwegian fans sat down together in the stands. In perfect rhythm, they pulled their arms back and forward, like men rowing a Viking ship. Haaland walked over to them. He was given a drum. He struck it twice with his left hand. The fans answered with one voice. Row, the Viking row, an ancient image from the north, recreated on football's biggest stage. Brazil were going home. Norway were rowing into the quarterfinals. The North Sea wind had reached New York. His father had reached one World Cup. His son had just changed one. Afterwards, Haaland stood in front of the cameras. His eyes were wet. He hoped this victory would inspire every child in Norway to believe that anything was possible. Somewhere, Alfie was watching. More than 30 years earlier, he had left his only World Cup in the group stage. Now he was watching his son write a different ending. 7 goals at this World Cup, level with Messi, level with Mbappe. A boy from a village of 12,000 people. A boy from a country of 5 million, standing beside the greatest names football has ever known. The odds were against him from the beginning. He changed them anyway. Do you remember what he said as a teenager? He believed he could go farther than his father. He believed he could do things no Norwegian had done before. He was 17. He already believed it. He was born in Leeds. He grew up in Britain. He came home to Manchester. And now, the whole world is watching. And maybe, my friend, this story reminds you of someone. Someone who began a journey, but could not finish it. Maybe, without even realizing it, you are still walking that road for them, carrying something they started, finishing something they never had the chance to finish. That is not a burden. That is love. A father's dream began the journey. A son brought it home. Thank you for spending this time with me today. Now I'd love to hear from you. Which moment in Haaland's story stayed with you the most? Do you think Norway can win the 2026 World Cup? If they do, it would be the perfect gift from Haaland to his father. Leave a comment and share your thoughts. I read every one. Until next time, take care of yourself, and when night falls, come back to HitoCast.